So in this video, you're going to be able to, if you watch this, you're going to learn things like how do you work with date times, how do you work with datetime objects, how can you take a string and turn it into a date time. The benefits over all of this, like you're like, what the hell is this? Like if you're a complete beginner and you're like, I'm just totally lost, what the fuck are you talking about, Kazi? If you want to be able to calculate the distance between today and your birthday, you'll be able to do that. If you want to make an app that can send an email to somebody after 2 days after they sign up automatically, you need to know how date times work. If you want to be able to make an Instagram clone and you want to do things like when somebody makes a post and it timestamps it in their time zone and shows the time in their time zone when they log into the app, then you need to know how to use date times. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, so we're going to import datetime. Alright, this, you don't have to pip install this package. It comes built in with Python and it allows you to do fancy stuff with date. So for example, I can do, let's say if I wanted to get today's date, I will do today and I will do datetime dot date, and I can put in year, which, so you can see my pie chart is telling me what arguments it takes. So it can take year as an integer, it can take month as an integer, and day as an integer. So remember, it takes it as an integer. Actually, for today, I should probably just leave it blank even, right? And say today. And if I print out today, let's run this guy, it will give me the date of today. So that's how you will deal with today. If I want to do birthday, my birthday, I'll do datetime dot date, and now I'll pass in what I actually want to pass in. So I'll pass in, let's say, the year 1994, the month 7. Make sure you don't do 07 because 07 is not an integer, so it'll give you an error. You can't start an integer with a 0 that's leading it. So we'll say July 14th is my birthday, and then we will go like, okay, like print birthday. Let's see what that looks like. Cool. So it's printing it out and showing it to you as a string, but it's actually not a string. It's birthday is really an object here, because if I call the repr method, it will show you that it is indeed a datetime object and not just a string like it shows you in the terminal. So do not get confused by that. So we're going to create something called since birth. I want to see how many days have I been alive, right? Very important. So I'll say days since birth. And what we'll do is we'll say today minus birthday. Okay. And then let's do days since birth. Let's print this bad boy out. It says 9,004 days. Now, if I really want to make sure that I'm getting back days, is I should do this, and then I should do dot days. This will make sure that I get back days and I don't get a date time object back. So this is telling me days since birth, which is kind of useful, I guess. You know, pretty useful, important. And that's how you can, you can subtract dates, you can add dates and all that. If I do, if I create a time delta, so let's say I'll do time delta, I'll create date time dot time delta, and I will say days equal 10. And now I'll say to today, to the date of today, which is March 9th, just add 10 days to that. That's it. So I'll just do plus time delta. Now when I run it, what I get back, as you can see right here, is March 9th has 10 days added to it. And what do you get when you add 10 days to March 9th? That's right. You guessed it correctly. You get back March 19th. So this way, you can add to dates, you can subtract from dates. If you do minus here, let's do minus like that, and we can run it, and boom, we have subtracted 10 days from that. Now, the reason why you want to use libraries is because otherwise this stuff can get very confusing very, very quickly. Because like, for example, February only has 28 days. And then sometimes it has 29 days, and some months have 30 days and 31 days. And then you got to take leap years into account, and you got to take all this other crap into account. So that's why you don't want to create your own functions for this. You want to just use something that somebody's made called Datetime. Makes your life a lot easier. All right. So I've shown you how to add and subtract time using Timedelta. I've shown you how to create datetime objects. Now, and I've shown you how to like pull out the current days. You can pull out the current month too. So like, for example, I can do today.month. And if I run it, it'll give us that it's the third month because it's March. I can do today.day. And if I run it, tell me that. I can also do today.weekday. So this will tell me what weekday is it. So right now it's telling me, yo, this is the 5th day of the week. And let's check. And this is the 6th day of the week, because it says Monday is equal to 0 and Sunday is equal to 6. Okay, so computers, mostly start at 0 and go up to 6. So that's why if you do weekday, that's why it gives you 5. And it is the 5th day indeed, because it's Saturday today. So I'll write here, Saturday is equal to 5. Okay, so there are many methods like that are very useful. Now, something else that's useful when it comes to date times is we've covered date times, we've covered deltas, but what now we want to know is, okay, how do we deal with hours, minutes, and seconds? So let's do that. We will do something that will show us, we'll do datetime.time. And essentially, when you pass time, you can pass in hour, minute, second, and microseconds. So we will pass in hour 7, minute 2, seconds 20, and microseconds 15. And then we can also pass in time zone info and what we want the time zone to be. But for now, we'll just leave it blank. And let's print this out and let's see what that says. So that essentially just gave us a datetime.time object. So it gave us a datetime object where it's giving us the hours, minutes, and seconds. But again, Corey, I was watching his video and he says that he uses primarily datetime, and I agree with that because I used to use time, but then I realized that there is three different ones. There's datetime.date, then there is datetime.time, and then there's datetime.datetime. And this is sometimes confusing, but here's what it really is. So datetime.date is just year, month, and day. Okay. Datetime.time is just hours, minutes, seconds, and microseconds. And datetime.datetime is this: year, month, day, and hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. That's essentially what you need access to, because this has access to everything. So most of the time, you should really be working with datetime.datetime. All right. Now, when we're working with these, well, we can do the same thing of Timedelta. All right. So if you have a datetime object, like datetime.datetime thing, you can still do Timedelta, and it'll automatically do all the math for you, including the hours math as well. So you see how we did days. If you add 10 days, well, you can also create let's say we create an hour delta, and we do datetime.timedelta, and instead we pass in hours, and we say, so right now it's almost 6 p.m. So if I add 10 hours to today, So if I add 10 hours to right now, right? So for example, if I do datetime.datetime.now, first of all, let's print that out. So I'll do print and it'll run it. So it's telling you that, yo, look, it's essentially 6 p.m. Okay, that's in military time, it's 17th hour. Now, if I add the time delta to this and I do hour delta and I run this, well, you'll see it'll say March 10th, which is the next day, because it makes sense, right? It's 3 a.m. into the next day. So you can also do time delta just like that. Let's move on. I'll write little notes here for you. So I'll say that this is 10 hours, add 10 hours to current day. That's what this part of the code is doing. This part of the code is adding 10 days to current day. Find days since birth. What's that piece of code doing? Okay, so we have covered quite a bit. Now, let's move on to a few more things when it comes to date time. What you want your date time to do is be aware of the time zones. Oftentimes, the date time object by default is called naive. So it's not aware of time zones, meaning that it doesn't understand what is mountain time versus Pacific time versus some other time. So in different countries, you have different time zones. So but it won't know the difference. You have to tell it to be time zone aware, aka not naive. So let's go ahead and do that. We will take a datetime object like today. So I'm just going to do datetime.datetime.now. And what I'll do is we're going to use a package called pytz, pytz. So you have to install it. What I'm going to do is I will simply install that package using my pip install. So I'll go to the terminal here and I'll do pip install pytz. And if you don't already have it, go ahead and install it. Looks like I already have it, so that's good. And let's go back to running this code. Cool. And I will import pytz at the top. Now that I have that, what I can do is I can say time zone is equal to pytz dot utc. So now let's print that out, and what you'll see is that not only does this datetime object give me the year, the month, the day, the hour, the minutes, the seconds, and the microseconds, but it also gives me, it also has made it UTC enabled, but right now it's at +00. So now, because it's aware, we can give it a different time zone. So let's try that. So this is datetime today. And what we'll do is we'll go datetime dot Pacific, and I will do datetime today dot as time zone, and I will pass in the pytz time zone, except I will pass in US/Pacific because I'm in LA and we are on the Pacific time zone. And let's print that out. Okay, so -8, that's what I wanted, and that's what Pacific time zone is. So that's how you can make it time zone aware and pass time zones. There's a list of all the time zones, so Again, this is also from Corey Schaefer's tutorial, and he just loops through it, which I thought is really cool for time zone in. So for time zone in. Oh, yeah. Let's just do that because there's already that time zone here, so you don't want to like create any confusion. PyTZ.timezones. .pytz.all time zones. Let's print time zone. And when I run it, you'll see that it shows all these time zones like US Pacific, US Mountain, US Central, US/Alaska, Pacific, Indian, and Europe, and pretty much all of the time zones in the world. Okay, and that's where I got the list from. That's where I figured out where this came from. If you look it up online, it'll probably be even easier because then you don't have to scroll through your command line. It'll be in a nice little table for you. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to be able to take that time and format it. So we're going to do something called string formatting. So we're going to do string formatting with dates. So all that means is we'll take some ugly looking date, that it shows in maybe in this format where it goes 2019 03 March and 09, and essentially we want to be able to show it such as March 3rd like that, and then it should say 2019. Okay, so let's make it look a little pretty. How do we do that? Well, let's take our Pacific time, datetime Pacific that we had here, and simply we'll do string formatting. That's what this F is for. So we're essentially string formatting time. That's what we're doing here. Capital B is for the month. Don't ask why. It just is. Small d is for the day. And then percent capital Y is for the year. Let's print this bad boy and run it, and you see the date looking really nice. Oh, sorry, today is not March 3rd, it's March 9th, my bad. So we want it to look like this, and that's what it did. It made it look nice. Now, how do we go the other way? Let's say that we have this thing. We have March 09, 2019, and maybe this is, you pull it from a website somewhere, right? So on some website somewhere, this is how dates are written. Well, how do you take that written date and turn it into a datetime object so then you can do some manipulation on it? How do we go from essentially this to like a datetime, object? Kind of like that. Okay, how do we do that? How do we go from this guy to then getting that guy? Well, for this, we use a method called strp time. I need to turn off disable inspection. There we go. So here we use the method strf time. Here we're going to use strp time. Okay, p is equal to parsing, and the f in this is equal to formatting. So that's one way to remember all this. Now what we'll do is I'll say take a datetime string. So what I'll do is this. Okay, I'll go like this. I'll say boom datetime.strp time, and I'll give it a string. So let's say I give it March 09, 2019, and you have to teach it how it's written. So I'm gonna say, because it says the month here, I'll put capital B like that. Because it say the day here, I'll put %d like this, and then because there's a comma, I'll put the comma, and then year is here, so I'll do this like that. All right, and we will call this, date time thing, and then we'll print it out, date time thing. Let's run it, and boom, this is what it, if I actually put a repr around it, you can see that it's actually now a datetime object rather than just being a March 9th string. We took it from the string, and by using this and telling it how it's formatted, we turned it into an actual object. And now that it's an object, you can do, you can add this to, you can subtract this, you can do all kinds of stuff. Now, this is all great. This pretty much covers almost everything that we wanted to touch base on, like the most common problems that people have with date times, adding and subtracting date times, time deltas, which is very common. And then people want to also know how to format it and show it, print out a date in a regular way. And then you also want to be able to go from a regular date into a datetime object. So we've done all of that. We've also done some time zone stuff. But what I want to show you now is, if you have the opportunity to work with a different module, different thing instead of datetime, your life will be a lot easier. So what I recommend that you use is something called Maya. All right, Maya, which is, we'll put the link in the description of this YouTube video. So please, Frankie, when you're editing, just remember to pop this into the YouTube description. And essentially, Maya is considered datetime for humans, and all it does is it just makes it a lot easier. Okay, so Kenneth Reed says he wrote this and he made it so it's simpler to deal with things. So for example, when you want to do when is tomorrow, like when you want to do set something to tomorrow, right? Like look at even our today is kind of confusing. It's kind of funny. If we want to add a tomorrow here, what we would have to do is add this delta, right? We would have to add a 1 day delta, and then it would give us tomorrow. Whereas for Maya, you can literally just say Maya.when tomorrow. So you can give it a little datetime object, Maya, and then when you do Maya.when and you write tomorrow, it'll figure out when tomorrow is. It can also automatically do slang for you, which is pretty cool. 23 hours from now or 10 hours from now, instead of, writing another way. It's these built-in methods. But what's really cool to me is how it can automatically parse datetime strings and generate naive or not naive date times. So you can give it a datetime string and call this parse method on it, and literally right then and there you can also give it a time zone, and it will automatically figure it all out. It will take it from this string and turn it into US Eastern time zone. It's that easy. And also how it prints things out, it makes it really easy for you. So instead of them looking really funny, the print methods of this also looks really nice. When you print something out, it tells you Wednesday, September 20th, 2017. And so when you're working on things, that's also easier. Another thing that I like about this is to add delta. All you got to do is just do .add. All right. And then it will automatically add things essentially for you. Okay. So you don't have to worry about or do kind of anything on your own. It will just add it. So you just do .add, then do days equal 10.day. So it goes from 7 to 17, just like that. And I like how it says always here, because what it does is whenever you run .time zone, it's always in UTC. So it's time zone aware at all times by default, unlike the datetime objects, which are not aware by default. And the advanced usage is really cool too. So if you're building an app which has to do with a lot of calendar type of things, and you want to create an event that is an hour long that starts now, well, it's super easy. Event start, which is just Maya.now, so time.now, or datetime.now if you were using Datetime. So it's just Maya.now. And to the now, the event end is just the Maya.now .add hours equal 1. So you just added that 1 hour delta to it in a very easy way by just saying .add hours equal 1. And then you can use this thing called Maya interval class. So it's a really powerful class. And you can give it a start date of event start, and you can give it an end date of event end, and it automatically can create that event for you. Now, there are other modules as well, such as DeLorean, Arrow, and Pendulum. So Arrow is something I've used in the past, and Arrow is something that Corey in his video recommends. But I believe that Maya is a little bit more sane and will get most of the job done. Arrow can do more, but I do believe that Maya does things a lot better. And if Kenneth Reitz is doing it, then you know that it's going to be right. So I would stick with Maya, and you can still use these together with it. It complements them. He even says that here, that it complements them. All right. So that's really what I wanted to cover in this video. It's super easy to install it. Just pip install Maya, and you'll be good to go. So yeah, that's the main things I wanted to cover. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was informative. You learned something new, and that you go now and create maybe even some project with date times. That's how you'll improve in it. That's how you'll become better. With that said, we do have a new program that's going to be coming out. We're working hard at it with our entire team. And this is a program that's, whether you're a beginner or a professional developer, is going to help you take your skills to the next level. So whether your goal is to land your first job, or your goal is to get a promotion at your current job, or maybe you want to just become a much better freelancer and crush it at freelancing, well, then we will have a new program for you called How to Automate Stuff with Python. It will give you all the essential trainings you need to technically become an incredible developer, and we will dive deep into Python, into programming, and we will create many different projects. We'll go much deeper into concepts like web scraping, data mining, and just overall to handle really big projects and take your skills, to the next level. With that said, all you need to do to join the waitlist for this course, because it's going to be coming out hopefully sometime soon, but we're working on it really hard. So just in the description below, click the link. It's going to take you to a page where it says How to Automate Stuff with Python. Pop in your email and your name, and I will send you a free gift once you do this. We'll send you a 3-part epic training masterclass, perhaps. And also, when the course opens up, you will be the first to know. That way you won't miss out. With that said, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I love your face. This is Kazi, and I'll see you in the next video. Going all day, man. How's that? Going all day, man. Going all day, man. Going all day, man. I've been going way too damn long. Going